My name is Claire Whitmore. I'm 29 years old, and 3 days before I was supposed to marry the man I loved, he sent me the kind of text that makes your whole life go silent. It came in on a Wednesday afternoon while I was sitting at my desk, half listening to a project meeting, half thinking about seating charts and final vendor confirmations. Our wedding was that Saturday, 3 days away. My dress was already steamed. The flowers were paid for. The honeymoon was confirmed. His suit was hanging in our closet, still covered in plastic, with the receipt tucked into the pocket because Mason never remembered where he put anything. I remember smiling at that thought before my phone buzzed. Mason's name lit up the screen. At first, I thought it would be something small, a question about the rehearsal dinner, a reminder about his cousin's flight, maybe another joke about how he was going to cry before I even walked down the aisle. Instead, I opened the message and felt every sound in the room fall away. Hey babe, I just want to be transparent with you. Vanessa reached out and we've been talking. She's going through a really hard time with her mom's health scare and she needs support. I'm going to spend Thursday and Friday night at her place, just for closure before our big day. Nothing will happen, I promise. The wedding's still on. Love you. I stared at the message, then I read it again and again. Vanessa, his ex-girlfriend of 4 years. The woman he had sworn was completely out of his system when we started dating 2 years ago. The woman whose name always appeared in our arguments like smoke under a closed door. The woman he said understood him in a way nobody else ever had, right before insisting I was insecure for noticing how often he still checked her stories. I looked around the conference room. People were nodding at slides. Someone was clicking a pen. My manager was asking about timelines. And I was sitting there with my future collapsing in my palm. The strangest part was that I didn't cry. I didn't even feel angry at first. I felt cold, not dramatic cold, not rage, not shock, just this clean, sharp quiet inside me, like something had finally snapped into place. I typed one sentence, "Do what you need to do." Mason responded almost immediately. "God, this is why I'm marrying you. You're so mature, so secure. I knew you'd understand. I love you. Can't wait to make you my wife on Saturday." My wife. I stared at those words for a long moment, then placed my phone face down on the desk and looked back at the presentation. I don't remember the rest of the meeting. When it ended, I walked back to my office, closed the door, sat in my chair for 5 full minutes, then picked up my phone and made the first call. The venue coordinator answered cheerfully. "Hi, this is Claire Whitmore. I have a wedding booked for this Saturday under Whitmore and Hale. I need to cancel it." There was a pause. "Oh, Ms. Whitmore, I'm so sorry. Is everything okay?" "No." "I understand. I do need to let you know the deposit is non-refundable at this point." "That's fine." "And the catering cancellation this close to the date will also cancel it. The flowers, DJ, bar package, ceremony setup. All of it." Another pause. "Are you sure?" I looked at Mason's text again. 2 nights, with Vanessa, for closure. "Yes," I said, "I'm sure." The second call was the honeymoon resort in Maui. Canceled. The third call was the photographer. She went quiet when I told her. "Oh, Claire," she said softly. "I'm so sorry." That was the first time my throat tightened. Not because of Mason. Because a stranger sounded more heartbroken for me than the man who was supposed to become my husband. The fourth call was my older sister, Natalie. She answered on the second ring. "Aren't you supposed to be doing bride stuff? The wedding is off." Silence. Then her voice changed. "What did he do?" I forwarded her the text. She called me back 30 seconds later. "Where are you?" "At work? Do you need me to come get you?" "No. I need you to listen carefully. I'm canceling everything. I'm going home after work. I'm packing my things while he's at his bachelor party." Natalie inhaled sharply. "Claire, I'm not staying there tonight." "Good. I only want what's mine. Clothes, documents, laptop, jewelry, my grandmother's dishes." "What about the ring?" I looked down at my left hand. The diamond caught the office light like it didn't know it had become evidence. "I'll leave it on the counter." By 6 o'clock, everything was canceled. By 7, Natalie and I were inside the apartment Mason and I had shared for almost a year. It looked painfully normal. His running shoes were by the door. A half-empty coffee mug sat near the sink. The wedding seating chart was spread across the dining table with little sticky notes in Mason's messy handwriting. Mom near front. No Vanessa near bar. I almost laughed at that one. We packed quickly. I took my clothes from the closet, my passport, my work equipment, the framed photo of my grandmother, and the small box of letters my father wrote me before he died. I left the wedding invitations, I left the registry gifts, I left the framed engagement photo on the bookshelf, both of us smiling like we had known what happiness was. Then I took off the ring. For a second, I held it in my palm and remembered the night he proposed. How nervous he had been, how his hands shook, how I cried before he even finished asking. I remembered believing him. That was the part that hurt, not losing him. Realizing I had trusted a version of him that may never have existed, I placed the ring on the kitchen counter. Natalie handed me a sticky note. I wrote one word: closure. Then I stuck it beside the ring. Mason's bachelor party was that night. Convenient timing, really. His friends had rented a private room at some whiskey lounge downtown. His best man, Aaron, had posted a story earlier. Last night of freedom. I remember staring at that phrase before I turned off the apartment lights. Last night of freedom. He had no idea how true that was about to become. At 8:30, I was at Natalie's place, sitting on her couch in sweatpants, my phone turned off on the coffee table. For almost an hour, nothing happened. Then Natalie's phone started buzzing. She looked down. "It's Aaron," she answered on speaker. His voice came through tight and confused. "Is Claire with you?" "She's here." What the hell is going on? Mason just got an email from the venue saying the wedding was canceled. I leaned back against the couch and closed my eyes. Natalie's voice was ice. "Then I guess he should ask Vanessa." There was silence on the line. Then Aaron said quietly, "Oh." That one word told me enough. In the background, I heard Mason shouting, "What does that mean? Where is she? Give me the phone." Aaron lowered his voice. "He says it's a misunderstanding." I opened my eyes. That was what people like Mason did when they were caught. First it was transparency, then support, then closure. Then, when consequences arrived, it became a misunderstanding. Natalie looked at me, waiting. I shook my head. She spoke into the phone. "Claire isn't available." Mason's voice came closer, angry and frantic. "Natalie, tell her to stop being dramatic. The wedding is in 3 days." Natalie's eyes locked on mine. "No, Mason," she said calmly. "It was in 3 days." And she hung up. For a moment, the apartment was completely quiet. Then her phone started ringing again and again. We let it. Outside, the city kept moving like nothing had happened. But somewhere downtown, in a room full of men wearing expensive watches and cheap confidence, Mason Hale was learning that I had not misunderstood anything. I had understood perfectly. Natalie flipped her phone face down on the table and let it vibrate itself into silence, but it didn't stop. Calls, messages, notifications stacking on top of each other like a system overload. About 15 minutes later, she picked it up again. "It's spreading," Aaron had texted. "Aaron, he's losing it, saying you blindsided him. Everyone's asking questions." Then another message. "Aaron, what is this about Vanessa?" Mason hadn't told them the full version. People like him never do. They edit. They soften. They make themselves sound reasonable inside someone else's reaction. Natalie typed back. "Natalie, ask him when he texted her this afternoon." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Then came back. "Aaron, wait, he actually told her he was staying with Vanessa? Before the wedding?" Natalie didn't answer. She didn't have to. A minute later, Aaron sent, "Aaron, Jesus." Across the city, Mason's bachelor party was no longer a party. I could almost picture it. The music still too loud, half-empty glasses on the table, his friends not knowing where to look while Mason stood there with his phone in his hand, trying to explain something that didn't make sense. Then Natalie's phone rang again. Unknown number. She raised an eyebrow. "Want to bet?" "Mason's mom." She answered anyway. "Hello?" The voice came in, sharp and immediate. "This is Helen Hale. I need to speak to Claire right now." "Claire isn't taking calls." "Well, she needs to start acting like an adult. Do you have any idea what she's done?" There it was. Not what he did, what I did. Natalie's voice dropped. What she did. Yes. Canceling a wedding 3 days before? Do you understand how humiliating this is for our family? People are flying in. Deposits have been paid. This is irrational, impulsive, and frankly, cruel. Cruel. Natalie didn't flinch. What's cruel is your son telling his fiancé he's spending 2 nights with his ex before their wedding. There was a long pause. Then Helen said, he was being honest. Vanessa is going through a difficult time. Mason has always been a supportive person. Claire is overreacting. Natalie looked at me. I shook my head. She went back to the call. Then I guess Mason can marry Vanessa instead. And she hung up. After that, the messages came from everywhere. Friends, extended family, people who had RSVP'd yes to a wedding that no longer existed. Then one message made Natalie pause. It was from Vanessa. Vanessa. Claire, I don't know what Mason told you, but this is being blown way out of proportion. Nothing inappropriate is happening. He's just trying to get emotional closure. You're letting insecurity ruin something real. Insecurity. I stared at the word for a moment. It was almost impressive. The audacity of it. Natalie looked up. You want to respond? I shook my head. No. Because engaging with Vanessa would mean pretending she mattered in my decision. She didn't. This was about Mason choosing her and thinking I would stay anyway. Around 9:30, another notification came through. A blurry video from the bachelor party. Mason stood in the center of the frame, running a hand through his hair, pacing. I don't understand why she would do this, he said. I told her everything. I was honest. Someone off camera said, Bro, you told her you were staying with your ex 2 nights before your wedding. Mason froze, then snapped. That's not what I meant. Another voice asked, Then what did you mean? He didn't answer right away. He looked straight at the camera for a second, like he was trying to decide which version of the story would survive. Then the video cut. A few minutes later, Aaron texted again. Aaron, he's trying to call you, says he needs to explain. Natalie, there's nothing to explain. Aaron, he says you agreed. I leaned forward. Send him the screenshot. Natalie attached the full message Mason had sent me, unedited, then hit send. We watched the screen. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then nothing. Because once people saw the actual words, I'm going to spend Thursday and Friday night at her place, the wedding's still on. There was no version of that sounded reasonable. Around 10:30, another video started circulating. Mason was sitting down now, head in his hands, while his friends talked over each other. You should have told us, man. What did you think she was going to do? You said she was cool with it. I thought she was, Mason snapped. That part hit differently, not because it hurt, because it revealed something worse than betrayal. He really had believed I would accept it, that I would stay, that I would marry him anyway. I leaned back into the couch, staring at the ceiling. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was an expectation, and I had just broken it. The next morning, I turned my phone back on. Messages flooded in instantly, but one from Natalie was already waiting. Read this. Below it was a screenshot of Mason's public post. To everyone who was planning to celebrate with us this weekend, it's with a heavy heart that I have to say the wedding has been postponed. Claire is going through a serious mental health situation right now. She's been struggling with anxiety and paranoia, and she made some accusations that aren't based in reality. I'm committed to standing by her and helping her get the support she needs. Please respect her privacy and keep her in your thoughts. I read it twice. Then I locked my phone and set it down. That was the final version of him, not the man who sent the text, not the man trying to explain. This, the one who would publicly question my sanity to protect his image. Natalie leaned forward. Do you want to respond? I'll respond once. I opened my social media, uploaded the screenshot of Mason's original message, and typed, No mental health crisis, no paranoia. Mason informed me he would be spending the 2 nights before our wedding with his ex-girlfriend for closure. I wished him well and canceled the wedding, that's all. Also, Vanessa's mother is not sick. She posted photos from a charity event last night. Then I hit post. The reaction was immediate. People deleted sympathy comments. New questions appeared. The narrative shifted, and Mason no longer controlled it. By early afternoon, Natalie looked up from her phone. They're here. Who? She went to the window. Mason, his mom, and Vanessa. Down on the street, 3 cars had pulled up. Mason stepped out first, disheveled and pale. Helen followed, already talking, already gesturing. Vanessa stepped out of the second car, calm and polished, like she was walking into a conversation she expected to win. We didn't go downstairs. Natalie tapped her phone and pulled up the building's door camera. Mason was already at the intercom. Natalie hit the speaker. "What?" His voice came through instantly. "Claire, please, just talk to me." "There's nothing to talk about." "You're overreacting." "No, Mason, I'm responding." Helen pushed forward. "Claire, this has gone far enough. You've made your point. Now you need to fix this." "Fix this?" Like it was my mess. "You've embarrassed our entire family," she continued. "Do you have any idea how many people have seen those posts?" "Yes." "And you don't care?" "No." That landed. Vanessa stepped forward next. "Claire," she said gently, "this isn't what it looks like." "Then what is it?" "2 people making sure they're not bringing unresolved feelings into a marriage." I let that sit. "And were there unresolved feelings?" For the first time, she hesitated. Mason jumped in quickly. "That's not the point." "It is the point." Silence. Heavy. Unavoidable. Then Mason's father stepped out of the third car. He had been quiet until that moment, but now he looked at his son, then at Vanessa. "What exactly did you tell her?" he asked. Mason didn't answer. Vanessa didn't answer. That silence said everything. Natalie muted the speaker and turned to me. "Well," I nodded. "Yeah." Outside, their voices rose. Questions were being asked, but not by me. I stepped back from the door. Whatever version of the relationship still existed in Mason's head was no longer my responsibility. Friday morning, the day of the rehearsal dinner that no longer existed, started with a phone call from the country club. "Ms. Whitmore, Mr. Hale and his mother are here insisting the rehearsal dinner is still scheduled." They were informed it was canceled. "Yes, and I explained that. However, they're requesting that we proceed anyway and bill the event to your account." "No." "They also said they're willing to pay themselves, but they want to keep the original booking name." "That's not happening either. The Whitmore-Hale rehearsal dinner is canceled." Before the manager could end the call, I heard Mason in the background. "Give me the phone." Then his voice came through. "Claire, this is ridiculous. People are expecting this dinner." "No, Mason, you are. Just let tonight happen. We can figure everything else out after." After I ignored everything he had done. After I pretended it didn't matter. After I walked down the aisle like nothing had changed. "No," I said. "The dinner is canceled. The wedding is canceled. There's nothing else to discuss." I hung up and blocked the number. Later, Natalie showed me a video from the country club. Mason and Helen were arguing with staff while guests stood around pretending not to watch. Only 12 people showed up out of 60. Vanessa was one of them. She sat next to Mason, close enough that the whole room understood what I had already known. That night, Mason went live on Instagram, wine-drunk and desperate. "I just want people to know the truth," he said. "I didn't cheat. I never cheated." Comments flooded in. "Then why were you at Vanessa's apartment last night?" Mason laughed nervously. "We were just talking." Another comment appeared. "You said Claire was having a mental breakdown." His expression flickered. "She is. She's not thinking clearly." Then someone wrote, "You told her you were spending 2 nights with your ex before your wedding." Mason froze. Vanessa appeared in the background, reaching for the phone. "Mason, stop. You're making it worse." The video cut. Natalie looked up at me. "That's bad." I nodded. Because it wasn't about me anymore. It was about him losing control of the story. Saturday arrived anyway, even without a wedding, even without a bride. Natalie had driven me out of the city late Friday night. No dramatic escape, just distance, a small mountain resort, clean air, a quiet balcony. For the first time in days, I slept without waking up in the middle of the night. That morning, there was no makeup schedule, no dress hanging by the window, no timeline to follow. Just stillness. Natalie handed me her phone over coffee. Despite everything being canceled, people had still shown up at the venue because Mason and Helen had told them to come anyway for a celebration of love. But the venue had already booked a corporate event. So there they were, confused relatives in formal clothes, wandering around beside people in business casual outfits with name tags and coffee cups. In one video, Helen was at the front desk arguing again. "We have guests here." The venue manager stayed calm. "Ma'am, this space is reserved for another event." "You're ruining my son's wedding day." The manager didn't react. "Ma'am, there is no wedding today." Police were called again after that. Then came the real collapse. Another video arrived. Vanessa's father stood in the venue lobby, furious, facing Mason and Vanessa. "You told people my wife was sick?" The room went quiet. Mason said nothing. Vanessa opened her mouth. "It wasn't—" He cut her off. "She's at home, healthy, and I'm getting calls asking about her condition because of you." Then he turned to Mason. "And you're about to get married, but you're spending nights with my daughter?" Mason started to speak. Vanessa's father snapped, "Stop! You both used my wife as an excuse to play house while another woman was supposed to be walking down the aisle." No one spoke after that. There was no version of the story left to save. A few hours later, my phone buzzed. Mason. New number. Again. I answered only because I wanted to hear what he would try now. His voice came through quieter than before. "Claire." I didn't respond. "I'm at the apartment. I'm wearing the suit." He let that hang there. This was supposed to be our day. I looked out at the mountains, at the light stretching across the trees, at the life I almost lost. Then I said, "You should check your email." A pause. "What?" "I sent something this morning." Another silence. "What did you do?" "I informed the landlord I'd moved out and would not be paying my half after the current month." His breathing changed. "You can't do that." "I already did." "Claire, you should figure out your living situation." His voice sharpened. "Where am I supposed to go?" I didn't hesitate. "Vanessa seems like a good option." "This isn't funny. I'm not joking." Then something close to panic entered his voice. "You're seriously just walking away from everything?" I thought about everything we had, everything we almost built, and everything he had risked for 2 nights with another woman. "I already did," I said. Then I hung up. And this time it didn't feel like the end of something. It felt like confirmation. The strange thing about endings is they don't feel like endings right away. Life just keeps going, and for a while you feel like you're walking through something that hasn't fully caught up to you yet. But the fallout was very real. 3 days after what was supposed to be my wedding, I heard Mason had moved in with Vanessa. Not temporarily, not for closure, fully. A week later, Mason's father emailed me. Subject line, "I owe you an apology." He wrote that he didn't expect a response. He said he was sorry, that he hadn't known the full truth, and that he should have asked more questions before taking sides. He said I deserved better than his son. I read it once and closed it. Apologies don't rewrite actions. They just confirm what you already know. The third update was messier. Living together didn't fix Mason and Vanessa. It just accelerated the truth. Vanessa's apartment, small, cramped, nothing like the place Mason and I had shared, became their reality overnight. Mason realized Vanessa wasn't the version he had built in his head. Vanessa realized Mason wasn't as stable or generous as she had assumed. 2 people who had thrived on the idea of each other were now forced to live with the truth. Then came the detail that almost made me laugh. Mason tried to book a new wedding with Vanessa. Same area, different venues. But word travels fast when police reports and public scenes are attached to your name. One by one, venues turn them down. Unavailable. Not a good fit. No openings. About a month later, Vanessa's mother messaged me. "I'm sorry for my daughter's behavior. You didn't deserve any of this." I read it twice, then replied with one sentence, "I agree," and left it there. But the final piece came from Aaron, Mason's best man. He asked Natalie if I would be okay with him reaching out. I said yes. We met for coffee. He didn't waste time. Mason had been talking to Vanessa for months, he said. Not just casual, planning. The 2 nights weren't last minute. Vanessa thought you'd stay. Mason told her you would. That part landed, not painfully, precisely, because it confirmed what I had already started to understand. This wasn't about a single bad decision. It was a pattern, a belief that I would tolerate more than I should, accept less than I deserved, and stay no matter what. A few weeks later, life started to feel normal again. Not the old normal, something quieter, cleaner. I moved into a new place, smaller, simpler, but mine, completely mine. I stopped checking for updates. I stopped asking Natalie what she'd heard. One day I realized I hadn't thought about Mason at all. Not in the morning, not at night, not even when something reminded me of the wedding. That was when I knew it was over. Not when I canceled everything, not when he moved on, not when the truth came out, but when he stopped taking up space in my mind. And then, unexpectedly, something new happened. Not dramatic, not intense, just easy. I met someone through work. No history, no complications, no other woman needing closure. We started slow. Coffee, conversations, no pressure, no expectations. For the first time in a long time, everything felt clear. The last update I ever got about Mason came from Natalie. She said Vanessa had thrown a fit at a family gathering about marriage, commitment, and wasting time. Mason's answer was simple. I don't believe in marriage anymore. I smiled when I heard that, not because it was funny, because it made sense. People don't always stop believing in marriage. Sometimes they stop believing in the version of themselves that failed. Looking back now, the part that stays with me isn't the betrayal, the chaos, or even the public collapse. It's the moment I read that text, the moment I realized this is who he is, and I don't have to stay. The wedding didn't get ruined. It got prevented, and that was the best outcome I could have asked for.